President Director of Eisler and Pacific Investment. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.
So I have questions.
Sure.
How did you first get interested in architecture design?
It was started when I was in like 9 or 10 years old. I went to Singapore, Changi Airport, and I was amazed by this huge piece of glass while in the waiting room area, waiting for the plane to board. And at that time, I was like motivated I want to create an iconic building. Yeah, so I went a lot to Singapore when I was little, and I also went to China and a lot of other places in Europe and also America. And I was always amazed. Every time I go inside a city or inside a country, I feel like architecture, a building is like the face of the country. It represents the country identity. So I want to be able to be part of it, to be part of the person who can bring the identity of a country. In this situation, I represent Indonesia. I want to bring more identity through the building that I designed in Indonesia. So that's how it started.
How old were you at the time?
Still just 9 to 10 years old. So still very young, and then I was inspired by all these magnificent buildings.
So where did you study architecture?
Basically, I study in Petra Christian University back in Surabaya, and then I continued go to China, in particular city which is Wuhan, and we during that time after I finished graduations, and then I start my first practice with all my friends in China.
But why in China?
During that time, China was experiencing a double-digit economic growth. So the only country in the world to experience a double-digit economic growth was in China, and we were able to have a chance to be part of those growth. Which means during that economic growth, all the economic sector, property, and then the constructions are growing very fast. Wuhan was a particularly interesting city because it was like a convergence point between the north and the south, east and west. That time they were building a high-speed train connecting from Beijing to Guangzhou, and everywhere all it stops in Wuhan, so it becomes like a transit city. It suddenly transformed the city into a third-tier city, now becoming one of the most successful city in the world. Yeah, so when I first got there, I was amazed by all this architecture, construction company, investment company who all come to that city and want to invest and make the city grows. In just within 5 to 6 years, the city becomes metropolitan, a new metropolitan.
Who are your role models?
My role model was the late architect Zaha Hadid. She was a woman, and I believe she was born in Iraq, and then she was raised and studied architecture in London. She has all those advantages to become a famous architect. She has all those disadvantages. Sorry, she has all those disadvantages, but she managed to get through it, and she proves to everyone else that architecture is not just about fame. Architecture is about how do you create a value into your planning. So she was doing something very controversial about her design. It's like she transformed, she redefined the concept of wall. She redefines the concept of floor. She is brave enough to stand and tell everybody that this is the way you should do it. So in other words, architecture is not just about designing building. We basically want to transform something into something that can make a greater effect to everybody in the world. So that's what Zaha did, and then that's what we basically do as well. So we not just designing building, we put value in the building. We transform the lifestyle of the person inside the building. Maybe at the first, people in a normal apartment, maybe people just stay at their units and they never meet any friends. In our apartment design, we put community areas in the intermediate level so that people can interact and then they can communicate. So this brings a healthier lifestyle, more community lifestyle to the person who lives inside our design. So that's where my architecture philosophy starts from.
So when did you establish Eisler?
I first established back in 2010, just when I finished graduations. At that time, it was called GRY Studios under my name, But then back in 2017, we changed the name into Aisler. Because we are experiencing growth in our company. At first, it was just a small studio, but then it transformed into quite a big corporate. Right?
What does it mean?
It's a very unique question because a lot of people keep asking. Aisler, actually, it's an anagram of the word easel. E-A-S-L-E. It's an anagram of the word easel. Easel means like a supporting platform for artworks. And then I put R at the end to indicate there are person behind it. So that's where the name comes from. It's a philosophy where Aisler is like a platform of problem solutions to this piece of artwork. In this case, is either a land, an asset, or building, whatever it is that we can support. So that's where the name comes from.
Are you the only owner, or do you have partners?
I have partners, which is my own dad. He is also my inspirational person. He keeps motivating me whether I make mistake, and then he keeps also give me ideas of what should be done to transform this country into a better world, basically.
How many employees do you have now?
We have total about 30 employees stay at the office, and then 10 to 15 person who stays on the project side. I normally call my staff a team. I never call my staff a staff. I call it a team because I believe that my team is an asset of my company. Because architecture is all architecture, and our services is all about teamwork. So all this team is my asset to create a better service to our client. So that's what I call my team. Yeah, total 30 and then 10 to 15 on the project side.
So what is your annual revenue?
Right now we are experiencing a double margin growth and also a double revenue in the recent years. Currently our annual revenue is about 10 to 12 billion. And then we already booked total sales or total project for about 120 billion in total for the next 3 to 4 years. So what we want to point out is that architecture is the only type of business in this world who can have a margin up to 50% with a very, very big revenue growth, and we would like basically all the investor and the investment people knows that not just manufacturing company who can strive in this world, but also the service-based company. That is also in line with our President Jokowi is now doing, is that he wants to increase the human capital. He wants to put underline on the human capital that now on this new era, the 5 years of his new era is going to be all about human capital, and we are one of his dream that actually comes true.
So what is your design philosophy, and then what makes Aisler unique?
Yeah, my design philosophy is something different. Yeah. Maybe the other architect will think a good design is a pretty buildings, is a aesthetic buildings. What we do is that we are designing for human. We are more into the emotional approach. What is the end user for every property project is always human. So we design how to make the human can get a better life, a better living, a better lifestyle. How do we transform an office into what we call a dynamic office? How do we transform a hotel into now a business hotel, or maybe a student-friendly hotel? So there are a lot of things that is just more than the aesthetic of the building. It's about the core function of the building, which is as a space that contains all the people who are using it. So our philosophy is to design to fit the people inside it. That's our philosophy. What is unique about Aisler? We are the unique part is that we are like a one-stop shopping for properties. So because we have all ranges of services starting from architecture, structural consultant, QS, M&E, project management, business development, people basically can come to us with a piece of paper that shows this is my land, can you do something about it? We will guide through from the beginning design, we will monitor the construction, we will take care of the contractors, and then until it's handed over to the customers. So it's
also the interior design.
Interior design, everything inside, landscape, everything inside property. We bring value to the property. Maybe the land is worth $1 million. We will transfer into $1 trillion. So that's what we do. We are adding value with end-to-end service to our customers.
So Esler has just won a project to redesign all train and bus terminals in Indonesia. So how did you manage to win such a project?
Yeah, we start from scratch basically. All of our design that you see on the magazine, it all starts from a stroke of a hand. It starts from pencil. So we work out what is the core fundamental things that needs to be done. So what is the problem? Remember that architecture is actually a problem solution. So we go to the site and we meet all the people there. We meet all the PKL, the person who is on the street, and then we ask them, what is the problem in this terminal? And they keep telling us about the security, bad service, and the bus is not on time. A lot of bus is actually stay on the terminals, and actually it's not allowed for the bus to stay there. And then it makes the environment dirty and such. People not convenient because the terminal looks outdated. It's not cool enough for the young generation to go to the terminal. I believe if your friend asks you to let's hang out in the terminal, you will say no. So this is why first what we present to the government is that let's change the name. Don't do terminal. We name it a city hub.
City. That's a very trendy name.
It's a very trendy name. I mean, if you look at this demographic of the current Indonesian, mostly is a millennial generation is now coming up with the new startup and such. Mm-hmm. So our concept is to bring those people in who can also bring the trend into our terminal. It's basically, in a nutshell, we say we make the terminal cool. Yeah. So that's how we got into the project. In details later, in terms of technical, we solve a lot of things. We also make the terminals children friendly. Most of the people forget about these children, women, elderly people, disabled person. They are having difficulties to navigate through the city. We make the terminal as a benchmark about how planning should be done. And we also transform the terminal into an integrated mixed use. There are apartments, hotel component, office inside the terminal. What better place can you own an office rather than the convergence points of all the transportation in Indonesia? This terminal, what we designed, is called the Terminal A, which is connecting all the province. This terminal connects the bus from the outside the island and such. So this is like a convergence point between all these transportation hubs, which is a good place for what we call a TOD, transit-oriented developments. This is where we also put the mixed use and integrated buildings inside the terminal. And the integration of we tell the government that it's not just about all the funding should be from the government. You need to also couple up with the private sectors, which is what the Jokowi is doing right now. Yeah. And you can also mix the funding up with the foreign funding as well. So this creates like consortiums on how to successfully rejuvenate the terminals.
So how did you manage to win such an award?
Yeah, we are basically go through tenders. We convince the government that this is what should be done. All of our other competitors, they are doing what we call building beauty. So they are trying to, like when you dress up a man or dress up a woman, they are more focused on the makeup. I'm more focused on the heart inside.
That's good.
So that's how we managed to get the project.
So Esler does not just offer building solutions, but also property solutions. So can you explain what you mean by this statement?
Yeah, architects, as I've told you before, it's about problem solutions. What is our playground? Our playground is property, is land, is the asset. Either it's an old building, whatever building it is. The property solution that we do is more about how to commercialize this building. We call ourselves a commercial architecture, which means we design something so that our clients can sell to other people, their customers. So we create values. That's first. The solution can be like how to improve the efficiency so that they can get a better margin later for their planning. And how to also we integrate an added value so that the products, the building or the design department can also be unique so that the customers, their customer, our clients' customers can see our product as something unique. So we put uniqueness in the design as well. and everything needs to be integrated at once, because this is something that I think is inseparable. Most of the time, the business development, the property solution, and the architect is always two separate entities. We blend them into one so that we can create a more direct planning. So we know exactly what is going on. We study the market. We look at the surroundings. We study how much per square meters that you need to sell. And we look at the other competitor as well. Okay, how do we manage to, for our clients to win over the other competitors in this tough market? So that's what we call a property solution. It's a one package solution for them to commercialize their asset.
So Astra will be the first architecture firm to be listed on the Indonesian Stock Exchange in January. So how difficult is to achieve a listing in such a short period of time?
It's very interesting questions, because most of the companies that goes listed in the Bursa Efek, they are in a manufacturing company. They are also a property company. What are they? They are company with assets, with land banks or with the buildings. We have assets. Our company, the difficulties is that we basically are a service company. Well, we don't have as much asset as they do, but what we managed to convince to the person in the stock exchange is that this is the only company, this is the only type of business who can grow multiple times. You know, if you have an asset or if you have like tangible assets, you see that it is something that you can count. It is something that you can, it's something that is degradable every year. While service business is something that can bring added value to an asset. So perhaps there are only two types of industry that can do that. First is a service based, one is design, architecture and such. The other is the IT, technology. They are also a problem solution. So we are basically into that categories. And we, thanks to all of my team who works very hard to make this process fast, and then we managed to convince the stock exchange that basically we want to bring a new taste to the capital market of Indonesia. Most of them is just maybe the sweet taste. We bring another taste, a bit spicy taste perhaps, for the capital market. Yeah.
So in your view, what are the key trends that will impact building designs and the property sector in Indonesia over the next 10 years?
We see now, definitely there's one thing. Every year, land price is getting higher. And it's not in line with the people income. So there is a big problem in every part of the world. That means the property price will be more expensive, and then people are getting more and more cannot afford to buy the property, especially this millennial generation. So the trend that I see right now is what we call city scrappers. So you see that long time ago, when the city is just low in population, the land price is still not expensive, everything is distributed horizontally. So maybe the office is there, 5 kilometers apart is an apartment complex there. And then once the land price is getting more expensive, you can see the trend right now is called a mixed use or integrated development, where in a small plot of lands, maybe about 1 hectare, you see office, hotels, and beside there is apartments and then hospital within the environment of those plot of lands. What I see in the next 10 years, everything here will be merged into a single building. What I name it a city scraper. It's a skyscrapers that contains all the city function. Why is that such a good thing? First, we can reduce the carbon footprint. You don't need to travel with the cars. You don't need to burn gasolines. Increase efficiency. There is no excuse for the staff for the team to come late to the office because your apartment is just upstairs. Just go down. Increase efficiency, and also it creates an independence, a sustainable environment for those particular buildings to sustain themselves. In the future, it can be like agricultural sector is also there. Agriculture is a sector that nobody even heard of it, but it creates a major impact to the city. Carbon footprint, you need food, everybody needs food, and then the food source always outside the city. It becomes a major problem due to the lack of, for example, famine or maybe a lack of rain. So and then later the rice will be not ready, the demand and such. So it creates a huge problem. Not also including the transportation that increase the price of those commodity. So if you manage to put it inside the building where it has an agricultural cultivation areas, it will dramatically increase the efficiency and also reduce a lot of price, so that makes everything more affordable. The land price will be distributed by the height of the building, so it becomes more affordable. The apartment price will be more cheaper to counter the increase of the land price, and it also
but cheaper, you mean like in a suburban area or still in the city?
We are talking about the city areas. I don't recommend doing this in the suburban area because it's not ready. So it's like if your son is 9 years old, don't force them to drive a car. It's like that. So a city is like a person. It takes time. It takes time for the city to grow, and only at that specific time when you manage to bring in the specific type of development, it can succeed. So it only happens in a city where the land price is very expensive, like Jakarta, or a major capital city like Surabaya, Medan. Medan is now growing, Batam.
Yes.
So those kind of city that is now doing that. The other part of the city that is now growing, maybe the new capital city and then the suburban area. The trend is right now is to create a pocket of sustainable development. Is what I always suggest. This pocket of sustainable development where you have a hospital component, educational component inside it, it creates an even distributions for the economy. So there are no parts of the city that is well growing. The other part maybe not so much because there are no hospital there, health is bad, no educational, so the people there is not receiving a good educational feed. It's not going to happen if you distribute all this evenly and make it a sustainable plot.
So, can you please explain a bit about the connection between Eisler and Pacific Investment?
Okay, so when we first established our corporation, we have two major holdings. The first is Eisler, and the other one is Pacific Investment. We see a Pacific Investment as the source funding for all of our activities, and obviously architects needs capital. All the business needs capital. We basically marry between service company and an investment company. When we marry into one, people can see that how fast this service company can grow. Pacific Investment is just not about it's not just about investment only, but we see what a company can do. It can be a startup company with maybe only 2 or 3 person inside it, but it can be valued multiple times, maybe in the next 5 years. This Pacific Investment is the entity who can oversee that, so that maybe this startup company they have a talent. We are talent seeker. This company is talent seeker that we feed them with the capital and then let them grow. So that's how the connection between, and this Pacific Investment keeps feeding Eisler for all of this talent source, funding source, and we also spread our network of funding into different sectors, IT sectors, another service sector and such.
Okay. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much,
Rony. So yes, I hope to see you another time with all your new projects.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.